Hi! Today I'm going to teach you how to achieve a cinematic looking image. First, grab a lens, you probably got some lying around, now mount it to the camera. Of course, you're not gonna film a video of the lens itself, you're gonna film it with the camera and the lens. Yes. Now open this lens as wide as possible. Open it more. What? Is it an f4 lens? Throw it away, what the hell are you doing with it? Buy a lens that opens up to at least an f1.4. Now open it really wide to f1.4. Now this is a cinematic looking image. Forget about exposure, forget about lighting, forget about framing. This is the pinnacle of cinematic looking images. And remember one rule about cinematic images: if your nose and your ears are both in focus, you're doing it wrong. You're welcome. Okay, let's get a little bit more serious. I've got no problem with people blurring the fuck out of the background in their YouTube videos. Heck, I even do it myself. This is done in order to conceal all of the crap in the background. You see, I've got no expensive studio that I can arrange the way I like. That's why I cannot really put some fancy crap in the background. I cannot leave my lighting equipment where it is because I would stumble upon it every time I decide to move through my apartment, which I do not really want to do. So I need to blur it out a little bit to make it pretty. Some people overdo it even for YouTube, but that's totally fine and I get that. It is no movie, there is no hidden message behind lens choices and lighting. I'm simply sitting in front of the camera. I can't do that. On the other hand, when it is done in a movie and with no fucking idea behind that, that makes me kinda angry a little bit. Let's look at some footage. This is the last season of the TV show called Dexter. I bet many of you are familiar with it. It is a great show if you cut out the last season. But this last season is what we're going to focus our attention at. Now, we're not going to discuss the absolutely awful plot, and even mediocre acting is not our concern today. We are going to talk about the cinematographer, who probably took some drugs before filming this masterpiece. Half of this movie is shot at either a long lens or at a shallow depth of field. So what, you might ask? It looks good, doesn't it? Okay, let's step aside a little bit and look at the lens itself, because we probably lost some people who got no idea what the heck is happening here. Here is your typical lens. This is focus ring, which controls, well, focus, and this one, which you actually might not find if you have a photo lens, because in a photo lens iris is controlled through the camera itself, but anyways, this ring is here to control the iris. The iris is this little thing inside of a lens that opens and closes, thus controlling the amount of light. The wider you open this thing, the more light you're going to let in. Different lenses can open to different f or t stops. The smaller this number is, the more light you're going to get. Following so far? Good. Now, there is another thing that is happening when you open your lens. The wider you open it, the shallower the focus field is going to become. So what's the problem? You're getting more light and you're getting an image that is considered to be more pleasant looking, more cinematic, let's say. The problems begin to arise when you need to tell a story. You see, a movie is not a YouTube video. In a movie, every fucking shot should tell you something. Ideally, if there is no movement of the camera required to tell the story of a particular shot, the camera should not move. But that's ideally, of course. Most modern cinematographers would move the camera simply to prevent the viewer from becoming too bored. You know, that's probably because of those TikToks and YouTube shorts that we now have the attention span that is so short that it is embarrassing to even talk about it. So why would you want to blur the background in terms of storytelling? The first, the most obvious reason is to show a detail, to highlight it. Those need to have a shallow depth of field to shift our attention to it. Either a telephoto lens is used for that or a wide one with a shallow depth of field if we need to include background. Or shift the focus from background to the subject. Or from one subject to the other, I guess you get the point.
When we're talking about a person, a shallow depth of field indicates that the character is disconnected from the outside world. This is done to depict his emotional turmoil. The telephoto shot is used to emphasize those emotions, or the importance of what the character is saying. It is not supposed to be done to simply make the shot prettier. Now let's get back to those Dexter shots. Here we are, 50 seconds into the first episode, and already Dexter is running through a complete blur in the background. But here I can understand that decision, so let's move along. 1 minute and 20 seconds into the episode. Is that forest in the background or what? Well, in fact, it could be anything, nobody could tell the difference anyways. Here is one of my favorite shots that comes at 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Dexter is just driving the car, but the focus is so fucking shallow that the cameraman struggles to keep it on his face. Bear with me, it's not the worst shot here. 9 minutes in and 9:30. He's just walking. You know, when you're making a movie and it looks like your character is walking with a green screen behind him when in fact it was filmed outside, you probably did something wrong. Now, look at this shot, which greets us at 11 minutes and 41 seconds. This wall that is behind Dexter is quite close to him, but the focus is so shallow that this wall and everything on it is out of focus anyways. Tell me, what was the point of shooting a show on a location if nobody can see shit on that location? Well, anyways, this is our winner. 13 minutes and 13 seconds. The guy is like in a fucking space. Everything is blurred into oblivion. 1806, 2536. I could go like this the whole day because this movie is shot completely with a shallow depth of field for some unknown to me reason. Now go through any great movie or TV show and I guarantee that you are not going to find more than 20 to 30% of shots with a shallow depth of field. Because those people know what they are doing and why. For example, let's take a look at the best show of all time, Breaking Bad. Look at these shots. This is the beginning of episode 1, season 1. The same shots of people driving a vehicle, but notice how deep the focus is. Looks like they are really driving rather than sitting in front of a green screen. Here is the close-up at 5:30. Although the background is squished, it is not completely gone into oblivion. Now shots outside at 7:05. Deep focus because we need to see the environment to be with the character, to believe the story. And here is quite an extreme close-up at 13:12. Why? Because it has to emphasize Walt's interest in getting easy money. It is not simply to make the shot look pretty. I understand that the styles of these shows are quite different, but it's far more enjoyable to watch a movie that is shot like Breaking Bad rather than Dexter New Blood. Even though the story of this season of Dexter is atrocious, it would have been much better had they selected a different approach towards cinematography. But why are we beginning to see shallow depth of field and a lot of camera movement nowadays in movies? I'm no expert, but I've got a theory. This is Nikon D90. This is the first DSLR that allowed you to record videos as well as making photos. And as I said before, when you're recording in your living room a video, that shallow depth of field allows you to hide some parts of your room, make it more appealing and also make your shot look more expensive, because those lenses that open really wide, those are not cheap. The full-frame cameras that allow you to make the depth of field even shallower, those are not cheap either. The problem is, those people who got used to filming everything wide open, they become directors and cinematographers and then film movies wide open without thinking twice. And of course, this is the part of today's trend that sounds like I'm not watching your movie unless it's pretty and something is constantly moving because I have an attention span of a goldfish and could not handle a static shot for longer than 20 seconds.
Anyway, think twice before hitting record. Or don't. I don't give a damn, actually. I said what I wanted and that's it. Damn, I must always shoot wide open too. You goddamn hypocrite.